This is the fake son and the mentally ill residing at Woodside Senior Apartments, the 55 plus community that is filled with gang stalkers. These are the mentally sick that are part of the population that is mentally sick, the demon possessed, that are maintaining a targeting system that they're being exposed for, and they're simultaneously being prosecuted for it. And while they exhibit their mental illness by gang stalking at the community and doing more so, again, the inside of the apartment is filled with impossible light activity, that which is not the product of the sun that is remaining idle over this apartment building, just like you saw yesterday afternoon. Well, after 4 p.m. It is 10:22 in the morning where the entity is gang stalking in the sky space, just like you saw, where the entity is on video at 12 o'clock, after 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and the demon possessed are engaging in surveillance in the same parking lot for the stalking purposes of a corrupt community. That's keeping a woman under surveillance. That's a sex offense, okay? The reason why you're making a delivery after 12 o'clock in the afternoon and the fake sun is over the same apartment building is for the stalking purposes of that apartment complex, who are acting as a part of what is a citywide effort to maintain surveillance in an environment that's in a circus-like environment. All right, this is where you're on video while the fake sun is still over the same apartment building, over me, that is, and not over me and Alvarado Gardens, over anyone at Alvarado Gardens. That was a specific environment where the pattern of conduct was underway, just like it's underway here. And the mentally ill are identified at Woodside Senior Apartments. They will be subject to mental asylums and federal prison. They are still gang stalking today on March 16, 2025. The defendant, Tracy Banks, is gang stalking inside of the unit, gang stalking with the demons, where you're looking at what is, again, the specific environment where inside amplified audible activity, which is criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment, that is pervasive with regard to the amplified booming that's heard inside of the apartments, while you're looking at what is the maintenance of that specific environment. This is the entity that's gang stalking after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. An engineered light is sprawling across the cabinets, and they're living at that apartment complex where the police are gang stalking with them, flying over their apartments, where the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking by flying over their apartments, where a fake sun is rising and setting over the apartments. The mentally ill that are over 55 are going to federal prison, because that's the impunity, all right? And the government is relying on that population. Tracy Banks is over 55 as well, gang stalking with that same level of impunity. The population comes onto the grounds, gang stalking with the same level of impunity. The entity is doing so, again, in violation of what is deliberately crafted laws that are designed to falsely depict that targeted individual, as opposed to showing and speaking to and dealing with the massive issue of mental illness of that corrupt population that's gang stalking American citizens. The entire population that you see is represented by a demon that's crossing path. That's a third party. And the entire property, Woodside Senior Apartments, is going to be prosecuted under the Violence Against Women Act for stalking, for engaging in what is psychological torture against an occupant. That AVANATH Capital Management is also gang stalking as well. This is an unprecedented basis of the violation of an American citizen, and it is shown through the unnatural environment. The demons that are living at this residence are crossing path and gang stalking through the convenience of under an idle source, an idle light source that sits over the same apartment, as you've already seen. After 5 p.m. it's still right here in alignment to me at the same apartment. And then you're also aware of what is the body of evidence that you can also refer to, the entity keeping the fake sun in this same manner, defying nature and science, where it's idle over me at Alvarado Gardens. And this is not over anyone in Los Angeles. It's not over my apartment in Los Angeles. It's not over my head at building 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles on the same day at the same time, which is what the body of evidence shows regarding the pattern of conduct that LAPD engaged in the same way that the to-be disbanded Ontario Police Department is engaging in, with the elderly who are very foolish and mentally ill. Not mental illness where they don't recognize the criminality. It's mental illness with regard to the psychopathic and murderous plots that they engage in and practice as a corrupt society. Gang stalking in plain sight. That third party is crossing path, and everybody in units 33 through 64 is going to prison for it. This is how the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct as a neighborhood. And that's the significance of having a fake sun and the engineered light, which is not normal sunlight, where surveillance is underway of a demonic nature. And that's demon possession in operation right in front of you. They are a threat to the national security. That demon possession is what works for the Ontario Police Department. That demon possession is what animates the Ontario International Airport, that have the demon possessed gang stalking in planes and helicopters. Okay, so the entity that has the fake sun after 3:30 p.m. and you're looking at it at a lower elevation than this tree that's standing right here, this is where an entity is deliberately engaging in the targeting system right in your face. And that conspicuous stalking conduct by the whole apartment complex is why the whole apartment complex is going to be prosecuted. And they're all losing their housing, which is at a HUD regulated property, and they're stalking in plain sight. All right, so the federal government is learning how this system works, and they do it right in front of your face, and they do it with impunity. That's what that's relevant to, not constitutionally protected private activity that's separate and apart while you even capture evidence of it. That's evidence of impunity and the failure by that entity to falsely depict the character of the one who is being targeted. That's how it's designed to operate, but it's unpersuasive and it doesn't work when you're aware of that specific environment and the malice of the state itself. All right, it is currently 10:28 a.m. The entity is keeping the fake sun over this same exact building, units 33 through 64. As you'll recall in the video captured at 12:28 p.m., the fake sun is right here at 12:28 p.m. That's negligible non-movement of what is not the sun. Where you've also seen it, the sun rise here at 7:28 in the morning, and the demon possessed that reside here under those circumstances for the malicious purpose of gang stalking do so just like you saw crossing path. All right, gang stalking right in front of your face. They're also sex offenders that monitor my genitalia. Okay, and that gross violation of privacy is committed by the government that's acting with this population residing at the residential area. This is a facilitating venue where criminal conduct that's not constitutionally protected at all is underway ceaselessly. All right, it's an ongoing invasion of your privacy, it's an ongoing sex offense, and it's an ongoing criminal system. All right, that is also shown while the entity is keeping the same unnatural environment over me as I documented in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. The impunity of the government is being noted for purposes of prosecuting the state. But this very complex, Woodside Senior Apartments, Linda Reyes is going to federal prison while she's a gang stalking residential manager with the gang stalking residents. That's what's relevant when you're seeing somebody cross path right in front of you. Right in front of you in the midst of that evidence. This is the exact same circumstances hours from now, yesterday at 12:28 in the afternoon, where a demon driving that Scion vehicle, the Latino male with the orange cell phone, is crossing path while I'm showing you the fake sun over the same exact apartment building. That is a supernatural occurrence with regard to the environment and the behavior, everything that's going on in that environment. It's for the stalking purposes of a whole population, and they continuously exhibit that. That's what you're going to study and recognize in the body of evidence, because you're not looking at one single video. You're looking at the totality of the circumstances where they are engaged in conspicuous stalking, which is psychologically harmful while you are documenting it, and they know that. It also is clearly incriminating. They don't look innocent like it's supposed to with regard to the ordinary target individual. These psychopaths who are mentally ill, gang stalking with the state in the midst of an ongoing prosecution against themselves are the same ones that are going to federal prison and mental asylums. And everybody in units 33 through 64, these two buildings, are going to prison and mental asylums for it. All right, the entity is criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment, which is what AVANATH Capital Management is going to be prosecuted for. The entity is keeping the fakes, and as you already know, the body of evidence in perfect alignment with me like this at 5 p.m. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 hours from now, the fake sun is in alignment under this same patio glass door that's inside of Tracy, the same apartment 51 at 5 p.m. That's non-movement of what is under all circumstances not the sun, not the natural environment. This unnatural environment remains over this building where I am located as a part of the recognizable pattern of conduct where a population is gang stalking with the state, who's amplifying plain activity as I walk outside to capture this while they're keeping me under surveillance inside of the apartment, obsessing over what I do as I do it. That's the sex offense. Okay? This is the entire strip down of the city of Ontario, who has given up on any sort of effort to try to appear like they're not demon-possessed gang stalkers, a threat to national security. All right, this is what the Ontario International Airport we're doing at 12:30 in the afternoon. The simultaneity of that is coexisting with crossing a path. All right, the entity is gang stalking, as a population. This is what they're doing at 3:30. Pay attention to the path. In the sky space, amplification, crossing path under a fake sun and an engineer. All right, so the demons that are gang stalking the family of demons in Unit 41, they're going to a mental asylum. They're gang stalking with the demons that are crossing path in the sky space. The gang stalker inside of Unit 51, Tracy Banks, all of them in these two buildings right here are going to federal prison while they are engaged in that collaborative effort right now in that specific environment while the evidence about them, that's speaking to their obsession. That's the significance of rising and setting a fake sun over the environment, by the way. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the license plates of the entity that is gang stalking. Ontario International Airport has no Terminal 2 or Terminal 4 over here. They're gang stalking together, and the simultaneity of that activity creation is serving the P.O.C. And this is where the fake sun is at 3:30 in the afternoon when you're gang stalking as a population. This is a sex offender. As a population, they're aware of when my panties are down. They're gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport and relying on, and those that are residing at the venue, just like you see, they're going to prison. Alrighty? This is where the fake sun was reflecting off of the vehicle parked in space number 10, as you saw at 9:52 in the morning. This is the entity that is gang stalking, license 8FDE449, and you can see the fake sun moves as I move. This is exactly what's happening when Uber Eats just replaced the face with the demons of Uber Eats, gang stalking by delivering to the venue at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the fake sun is right over the same exact location, gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport. You don't have to maintain any conversation. These are the elements of monitoring, and it's demon possession and operation. These are the demons that are residing in units 33 through 64, going to federal prison, and I've documented this demon before. This is pacing. All right, and this is speaking to, again, the system of public corruption. And this is no explanation, and this has nothing to do with the mental illness that the entity falsely depicts the character of the target individual as having. The entity is engaging in what is this demonic system of targeting someone, and doing so now while it's being documented in real time. This entire venue is going to be removed of all the gang stalkers that reside at the venue over 55. All right, again, license 8FDE449, documented gang stalker before. Using the car doors as activity creation. This is a demon. Just opening and closing the car doors is activity creation, and you already know about they're going to mental asylums. This is crossing a path under the fake sun that's no longer over the opposite end, nearing those, and this is the same position. Look at the video I captured yesterday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. This is exactly where the fake sun is as I walk from Tracy's apartment, where the fake sun is present over the same building 2 hours from now, where the property is invaded by gang stalkers, which AVANATH is going to compensate for. Those that reside, both those that are employed at the venue and those that remain, okay? The entity isn't doing so while you're documenting it. At 12:30 in the afternoon, when I'm walking from the same apartment over to the mailbox area, the fake sun is in the same location. This is not in Los Angeles. This is speaking to the specific environment, specific to where I'm located, specific to what I do as I do it. All right, and these are the ones that like to gang stalk with their kids. That's why they're losing possession, and you're witnessing impunity. While that light source is moving as I move, this is where it was at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, there are terms that the defendants don't recognize, which is impunity, ongoing impunity and malice, mental illness exhibited by those who are engaged in that pattern of conduct, and their mental illness is going to be met with what is mental asylums. All right, doing the same exact thing, by the way, at 5 p.m. with the fake sun, and the children are the means of audible activity and light activity creation at the same exact apartment building when the fake sun is positioned here, and I'm at the front door after 5 p.m. The entity, as you can see in real time, Ontario International Airport, the gang stalker 9CKS 542 gang stalker with the Ontario Police. This is the cackling demon inside of her vehicle with Ontario PD after 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening, and the fake sun is still here. That's the same defendant. She's going to prison. Okay, taking opportunity to participate in the P.O.C. with the entity that is maintaining surveillance in that specific environment, acting in concert with throughout the video evidence that's going to be presented against them regarding the malice of a neighborhood. That's what you're looking at. That's gang stalking together under the specific environment. This is not over Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles. All right, the entity that's exhibiting mental illness is the entity that's going to federal prison and mental asylums, the people of the state. All right, and the mental illness of the corrupt government that's gang stalking, that's what's going to be prosecuted. That's what's going to be removed from public office. And this is what is going to change the deliberately crafted legislation where high school graduates like Tracy Banks conspire against what are legally trained practitioners like myself in the law, and you have what is the absurd result of what is seeking to falsely depict the character of such people. But you don't even have to be an attorney or somebody that's gone to law school or is highly educated or in the gainfully employed and living your own life and minding your business in order to qualify for what is abuse under the state of California's exercise of fictitious authority under laws where you are being falsely depicted as being mentally ill when you're being gang stalked in the state. You don't have to be an attorney like myself, okay? But you're understanding what is the absurd results. This is the absurdity of that. And the mentally ill are demonstrating it in the environment where they are being documented in real time. This evidence is going against all of them in court. The mentally ill, the over 18 in Unit 41, they're all going to mental asylums and they're gang stalking, and they still engage in that pattern of conduct in the midst of evidence that's going to be used against them, speaking to the fact that they do not actually value their children, whom they knew were going to be taken from them while they engaged in abuse that is a matter of documentation, gang stalking, the federal prosecutor, who knows very much about what they're doing and the malice with which they do it. The federal government's not ignorant about it, and that's the same with the Ontario International Airport, gang stalking with the people. It's the same with the Ontario Police Department, gang stalking with the people, and this fake sun is still here after 5 p.m. That's directly relevant to the mentally ill who are targeting the one who is prosecuting them. They are already unsuccessful in their criminal efforts, so now you're witnessing the impunity of that mentally ill population who was still engaging in that criminal effort. Federal prison all the way around. You saw the demon, the African American. She goes to her white vehicle. She's already going to prison. She's gang stalking with the Ontario police on more than one occasion, and well after 5 p.m. where this fake sun is still here. The demons of Unit 41 they're going to mental asylums based on the level, the weight of evidence that they have provided to me while continuously gang stalking. The Ontario International Airport, entirely illegitimate. This is the city of Ontario gang stalking with commercial airline planes that have no terminal, from Terminal 2 or Terminal 4. Everybody in Units 33 through 64 is gang stalking by residents, while the sidewalk where the fake sun remains all day is where pacing is underway. Psychopaths that maintain a straight face while they're gang stalking you in plain sight. It's not the outward demonstration of anyone that is ignorant about the specific environment, the conformity of that P.O.C. This is speaking to malice. And so you're understanding what is the closeted mental illness of an entire population that targets American citizens as a way of business in California. This is public corruption by the government that relies on the population, that their entire mask has been removed though. So you're looking at keeping a straight face while you're gang stalking. This is what the psychopath Tracy Banks does, gang stalking her own relative. There is nothing fantastic or spectacular or persuasive about what the demon possessed just engaged in, again on video. And you are looking at the environment where you are aware of that. Look at what the entity is doing under the fake sun in Los Angeles, not only on this day, but during this time of year, which is irreconcilable while somebody with a straight face, while a population is engaging in what is ignoring the person that they're stalking. That's psychopathic, not innocence or ignorance. It's malice. And the mentally ill are continuously demonstrating that, and that's why they're going to prison in Units 33 through 64. The foolishness to engage in it with the Ontario International Airport with the same defendants who use their children hours from now while the fake sun is over their apartment in the same way it is in the morning. It's in that same position over me while at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The entity is gang stalking with the Ontario police at sunset well after 6 p.m. as a matter of documentation, a scientific phenomenon, and they are again looking at one piece of video evidence which does not cause them to appear as innocent. They look malicious. They look psychopathic. But that's what they're relying on. But the federal government, nor is anybody else just looking at one video. There is the totality of circumstances. There is the body of evidence showing the ongoing shared condition. These are not only demons, these are the criminal defendants who are the people of the state. And their mental illness is put at the forefront of the prosecution of the state of California. At the forefront of it. This high level of malice is exactly what is targeting the purposes and the ways in which you're targeting American citizens under deliberately crafted legislation, by the way. So this is a government system. The very government that participated in it by flying over the apartment complex, there's no Terminal 2 or Terminal 4. That's speaking to the deliberate engagement and elements of monitoring. While you're looking and driving around the entity that is, again, this singular mindset, this second by second, that's the conduct of a stalker, by the way, because you are aware of the fact that there is light on Tracy Banks' ceiling right now that is irreconcilable with what they would like to ignore and just walk by like, oh, I don't know, nothing to see here, folks, nothing going on. No one is persuaded by that. That's called malice. The engineer light that you see shooting through through Tracy Banks' living room across her kitchen cabinets, and you are in that environment engaging in what is harassment and knowledge of the fact that that supernatural occurrence is underway. Going and crossing path by walking to the dumpster is pacing. Doing so in concert with the Ontario International Airport that's flying over the senior citizen complex. No terminals whatsoever where they would be at that elevation where you would even hear them under what is an idle fake sun. That is the engagement and the elements of monitoring, while the one whom they are targeting is capturing the evidence of it. And you are aware of this is exactly where the fake sun is where the fake sun is located 6-7 hours from now. You watch them engage in, execute the pattern of conduct on video. This is going against every single gang stalking household at Woodside, including the company itself. That ongoing malice and furtherance of committing murder, by the way, while you're looking at them engage in the ongoing obsessive endeavor, which they have lost. And this is, again, no ordinary competition. It's not a competition when you need a whole society to target one person. Ordinarily, it results in what is kidnapping in mental asylums where there is no mental illness of that ordinary target individual. They've been targeted by psychopaths who you see in operation of that corrupt system. And it is, by the way, solicited by people like Tracy Banks, who's going to a mental asylum. This is showing exactly where she belongs, while the population engages in her criminal bidding and the bidding of the state of California. And the specific environment where you see this same light source at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon over the demons who are gang stalking in this video, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon over the demons who you see gang stalking in this video, also regularly doing so with their minor children, and doing so while the fake sun is still here after 5 p.m. in alignment to me. That is non-movement. That is speaking to what is directly relevant about who lives over in that building, by the way, but who lives around me. This is the pattern of conduct. This is incriminating Los Angeles Police Department, who were gang stalking just like the Ontario police are today, right now, during the course of this video. And because they're so disdainful of enforcement of an American citizen's constitutional rights, that's why the Ontario police are being disbanded. And their impunity toward the law and order, which they're supposed to be fans of, they're supposed to be executing law and order, they're actually criminals who are a threat to national security. And this is additional video evidence speaking to disbanding them. And that's exactly what's going to happen. This same community engaged in the kidnapping on June 16, 2022, waging false allegations. That same community is gang stalking under a fake sun. A fake sun that sits here. What is the fake sun? The fake sun that's sitting idle over this same exact apartment building into the evening. And they're driving into the parking lot. That's significant what they're doing. That demon, that psychopath that's just opening and closing his car doors with the license plate that I read, he's creating audible activity. He's stalking in the path. And their mental illness is always on full display. Contrary to what the corrupt government and the mentally ill want you to focus on, which is the absence of any mental illness when you are subject to what is a targeting system that is falsely depicting you when you're waging allegations that are no longer unsubstantiated or unsupported. It is directly demonstrated in the body of evidence, which is the P.O.C., not just this video. Okay, this is the entity that is incapable of responding intellectually, and they are engaging in what is the foolishness of that co-defendant of the state, engaging in the criminal acts right in front of your face, right in front of your face. This is pacing. These are demons on Vine Avenue, and then walking right here on the sidewalk. And this is where the fake sun is at 12. He's walking where the fake sun is at 12:28 p.m. He's gang stalking. The entity is, you're able to identify it through the environment where they're engaging in what is supposed to on its face appear literally innocent, and also separate, having nothing to do with the target. It has everything to do with the target individual, and the specific environment is the direct evidence of it. This is literally the prop, the ornament in the sky, the immediate sky space, because it sits here over this apartment building all day long. That's the malice of Woodside Senior Apartments, and they just demonstrated it. This is providing the support to prosecute all 144 units under the Violence Against Women Act. This is supporting the prosecution of the entire apartment complex for domestic terrorism, psychological torture. This is evidence of what is the malice and impunity of sex offenders who are going to be removed from having custody of their children while they're gang stalking, with the population and with the government itself, who is using planes and helicopters like you already know. At 8:31 in the afternoon, the entity is, 8:31 in the morning, the entity is gang stalking by the Ontario Police Department, flying over my head while the demon Tracy Banks is inside of her apartment. Engineer light is on her ceiling. The fake sun that's outside has nothing to do with the engineer light that's on the inside of her apartment. The two are separate and distinct methods of identifying the malice and the criminal purposes of everybody that's living around you in that specific environment. However, since the entity is engaging in such lawlessness right in the face of the federal government, because this is what this is, the disdain for federal law to not engage in domestic terrorism, the disdain for actually protecting your children by being a gang stalker and by including those minor children in your gang stalking festivities, this is again going to what is punctuate the removal of those children, the prosecution of the gang stalking households, the placement in mental asylums by the gang stalkers themselves. This is in furtherance of committing murder and kidnapping, the conspiracy which the entity has been engaging in for years. The documentation of the sun rising in alignment to me in Los Angeles and my apartment, 1806, apartment number 6 in Los Angeles, is irreconcilable with this light source that's over the demons that are gang stalking in this video right now. The entity is keeping this light source for the duration of the day. That is irreconcilable with that light source documented over me, replete with LAPD gang stalking by identification in that specific environment from the beginning until the end of the day. And then you're looking at them focusing on the moment right now, like a stalker does, okay, but doing so at the specific environment. You're not ignorant about that supernatural occurrence. They're monitoring to it. It's for the criminal purposes of them. One demon after another walking into the gate on Vine Avenue is pacing. This is what they're doing under the fake sun, and that's what they're doing in the sky space with commercial planes. That's what they're doing by gang stalking as an apartment complex. AVANATH Capital Management is being prosecuted. They're also engaged in psychological torture on the inside of this apartment while the amplified loud booming is sounding inside of the unit, which you also know is not a figment of the imagination of the ordinary targeted individual. All of this is already supported by evidence. This is the woefully unprepared defendant that is engaging in the criminal conduct on video. That's documentation of not just the fact that you're unintelligent, but you're malicious and you are acting with impunity, which is directly relevant to the ways in which you're going to be prosecuted. Everybody in units 33 through 64 is demonstrating why they belong in federal prison for the rest of their life. They're already over 55. This is domestic terrorism that could be easily dealt with regard to permitting expiration in their cells and in mental asylums. The employees of Woodside Senior Apartments, gang stalking by residents, they're going to federal prison, including the household, Unit 41. That's an employee, gang stalking with impunity. That's what you just witnessed in License 9CZ-CO59. It's a part of that entity that is gang stalking on video. You're looking at then the body of evidence. You can easily refer to it. They're gang stalking under the fake sun at 3:30, 4:30, 5:30 in the evening, where this same light source is still here. That's not the natural environment. This is supposed to be somewhere in Florida at the same time. That's 3 hours ahead of us. This is defying nature. This is not in Florida. Nobody in Florida can see this in the same way that this is not over Alvarado Gardens, over the top of my head. You cannot see what's going on in the sky space in Los Angeles while I am standing at apartment number 51, facing what is the direction south at what is 10:48 in the morning. The entity is keeping the sky space specific to where I'm located, and this is a fake sun that's sitting here, by the way, over the same apartment building where you're looking at the significance of the elements of monitoring. They maintain the elements of monitoring inside apartment buildings. That's a sex offense, okay? And they're all monitoring together. And they easily identify themselves by walking right by on video on this sidewalk where the fake sun remains all day long for the gang stalking purposes of the whole apartment complex that is shared by the population, who comes on engaging in trespassing by engaging in the P.O.C. with the state, the ongoing contribution to public corruption, and the contributing to the delinquency of minors. It's inherent to the city of Ontario gang stalking. It is the removal of, by virtue of this evidence, the removal of the Ontario International Airport, a national security threat, the removal of the Ontario Police Department, a national security threat. Okay, the entity that suffers from a low intelligent quotient is a national security threat, exhibiting impunity and obsession with what is a defeated effort. I am not the ordinary targeted individual, and I'm also speaking to what necessarily has to change, and that's the legislation that enables the state of California to target American citizens, and it's domestic terrorism. It's essentially an organized crime of theft that the government accomplishes through its exercise of fictitious authority, getting away with murder, getting away with what is murder by the ordinary target individual committing suicide. They are equally responsible for any target individual that takes their own life when they're subject to this targeting system. And these are the mentally ill. These are the mental health patients, and they're going to prison and mental asylums. Okay, it is currently 10:50 a.m. Recall the entity that's maintaining this light source as a matter of documentation at 4:01 p.m. through this same patio glass door. What I can see through this patio glass door went absolutely nowhere at 4:01 p.m. and this light source is still here. And as I walk to this building, that's where the fake sun is at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, where the demon possessed come onto this property and cross path while I'm capturing video out of this patio glass door, and the fake sun is in the same position where it would be right now, where you just saw as I walked to the parking lot. That's called stalking under a fake sun, which everybody residing at the unit is engaging in. And they did it on video again. They're going to prison, and that's where they belong. They're going to mental asylums, and that's exactly where they belong. That's exactly where they belong. The City of Ontario's main gang stalking is speaking to crossing path using planes. They're gang stalking, a direct means of engaging in the elements of monitoring. This is the government demonstrating demon possession, targeting. It's a citywide, but it's a statewide system. And it is satanic in its regard, and it's supposed to create the illusion that the ordinary target individual that does not have the evidence of not only the behavioral pattern, the mental illness that's exhibited by that population, and also the specific environment, which is demonic in and of itself. This is supposed to create the illusion of mental illness, and it's not even mental illness based on the unconstitutional and deliberately crafted legislation that the state of California abuses. This is the failure of Tracy Banks, a high school graduate, who tried to falsely depict myself, somebody who is an attorney, and I still maintain my legal skill set just because I haven't paid my legal fees, which is, again, the state's interference with my liberty right to go to work and not be gang stalked, i.e. the gang stalking in Los Angeles at the same time of year under a fake sun by LAPD, and the demons that were residing at Alvarado Gardens, they're all going to federal prison as well. That's the foolishness by getting in this video and gang stalking. They would be better off if they just stayed in their apartments because they're already done as a matter of a federal prosecution. But the demon-possessed, the mentally ill that they are, engaged in the documentation of how they are monitoring somebody, how they're stalking as a population together in the sky space and all around on the grounds. It's not just Woodside. They're being prosecuted. 717 North Vine Avenue, 714 North Vine Avenue, 721 North Vine Avenue. The entire city is gang stalking. They're living in the path gang stalking. It's a statewide system. You're going to be prosecuted for that. Okay? It is doing at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. They did the exact same thing. They were doing that by flying across this sky space. The Ontario International Airport did it from No Terminal 2 or Terminal 4, flying right over the senior citizen complex in concert with the demon that drove into. This is the same P.O.C. My voice is the audible activity right now. The entity is flying higher than the fake sun that's hovering over this, where the fake sun remains all day long. And that's how you know the city of Ontario is also gang stalking. But you already know, because they've engaged in multiple acts of kidnapping outside of any lawful authority to do so, while I've been exposing the entity that is gang stalking for a prolonged period of time. But I just want to be clear, the entity is keeping this light source at 10:53 in the morning. And this is exactly where it is, where the city of Ontario is still gang stalking. That's a sex offender. That's speaking to the public entity that is a sex offender, keeping my genitalia under surveillance inside of this apartment as well. Okay? This fake sun is distinct from what is this engineered light that you know is still here, pointed in the direction which is north at 12 o'clock during the 9 a.m. hour yesterday. It's pointing, so you have this engineered light, which is not the product of sunlight, especially when you're able to more vividly understand that when it's over me at Alvarado Gardens, okay, from the beginning to the end of the day, and this engineered light turns like this. After 12 p.m., it's in the direction, creating the patio of the pattern of the glass door. This is where the city of Ontario is gang stalking. The cloud path directly above is crossing a path in the sky space, and everybody's going to federal prison while they gang stalk by residents. This is a statewide system. Alvarado Gardens and Woodside Senior Apartments are the ongoing exhibits regarding that criminal system operated by the state. In addition, the fake sun that's idle here is distinct from the engineered light that's inside of the unit, which again, I've shown over and over again. This is not the product of sunlight. All right, that's concentrated engineered light, and this is also has nothing to do, it originates right here, has nothing to do with sunlight. The sun that is outside of the building is not coming through closed blind slats, reaching through underneath inside of the window structure, above the window coverings, and then creating this diagonal light across the ceiling. This is where the entity is gang stalking in plain view, as I capture video of them walking right by on the sidewalk, gang stalking in what is not, again, sunlight, and what is not the sun. And the entity is doing so by the evidence of the state. That is the city of Ontario gang stalking by planes and helicopters. Police, fire, and ambulance is the evidence against the people of the state, who are surrounded by a body of evidence, including by its co-defendant, the state itself acting directly. Okay, this is that engineered environment. It's for purposes of surveillance, and it's also occurring on your devices, your communication devices. Now, this system of surveillance that's in operation where you are, wherever you are, is also speaking to what is a targeting system that the state operates. And the state thought that it was going to falsely depict my character, kill me off, and then steal property that belongs to me, that it's already stolen, and try to get away with stealing, and steal everything else from me. And it's not even an intelligent effort. It's absolutely absurd with regard to the circus environment where the city is showing that they're demons and they're stalking. And that's exactly what they are. This is the city of Ontario. This is the state of California, not private citizens. And they're all going to prison, while the government participates in gang stalking throughout the course of this video, all right? Because they're gang stalking for the purposes of the same corrupt population with knowledge, while this same fake sun sits here after 5 p.m., which is a matter of video and images that you can access on the Google Drive, the Pattern of Conduct website. This is the POC.wordpress.com, and the YouTube channel, the POC, where you're going to witness a family of demons lose custody of their children. They're going to be prosecuted. They're losing custody of their children. And any other gang stalking actor in the United States is going to learn what you shall not engage in. You're certainly not going to do it in the face of the federal government and then keep a straight face and then have the absurd posture of trying to falsely depict the character of another person when your mental illness is put on full display. Your mental illness is put on full display as a gang stalking third party. Okay, these are demons that are flying in planes right over my head repeatedly, crossing path, and they're flying over the fake sun. This fake sun is hovering right here. That's why you can see it after 3:30 p.m. It's at a lower elevation than this tree that's right here. And that duration of time where it's still here, where it's over this parking lot after 5 p.m., this is the direct evidence that you can readily access. Not only yesterday at 4 p.m., but the day before that, and I'm documenting the fake sunset at 5 p.m. This is where an apartment complex is engaged in the state's pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring, where a population is participating in a system of surveillance, and it's an egregious sex offense. It's entirely unconstitutional and inhumane. And it is that which the state of California uses deliberately crafted legislation to falsely depict the character of the one who is being targeted. And ironically, the entity's mental illness is what is put on full display, and the defendants are going to federal prison and mental asylums at Woodside. And the state actors like Paul Leon and those of the Ontario police who are gang stalking by using helicopters, using planes, but this is exactly what the Ontario Department engaged in, using helicopters. And by the way, wasting millions of dollars on gang stalking. And you know this as a legal conclusion because it's happening in the specific environment. This is why Paul Leon is being removed from office. And you also know about his sexual perversion. You also know about his mental illness as a psychopath. Okay, demon possession, very popular. But their mental illness, as you would refer to it, but you need to know that these are the demon possessed. All right, it is currently 10:57 a.m. where this video evidence is going to sit on the record because it's evidence about what the entity is doing at the same time in Los Angeles and also what the entity is doing at the same exact apartment building, unit number 51, after 5 p.m. All right, and the entity is keeping what is a light source in alignment to me, speaking to the ability to identify who specifically is being targeted, while psychopaths walk right by gang stalking in plain sight under that environment, okay? So that P.O.C., this is a coward that's gang stalking from she's being prosecuted as well. This entire property is being gang stalked. You see Linda Reyes gang stalking under this fake sun at 10 o'clock in the morning as well. She's a gang stalking community manager. That oxymoron is going to be dealt with at her federal prosecution. All right? The entity is maintaining this specific environment while I am showing you, and you are always making that ongoing juxtaposition for references by the federal government who's prosecuting blatant mental illness, the demon possessed who cannot hide their mental sickness anymore, and their issue with what is corrupt actions. This is what the government is practicing and advocating, supporting. All right, and the entity is doing so, I want to be clear, while in that specific environment, the entity that's maintaining that specific environment, speaking to surveillance, speaking to the ongoing surveillance that's underway. That's the engineered light that's remaining regardless of what side of the apartment building the fake sun is on. This has nothing to do with sunlight, in the same way that everything you're looking at outside, that's not the sun. It's a whole illusion regarding the mentally ill who are gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments. It's the same pattern of conduct at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, California, including evidence that is at the same time of year where the natural environment dictates the sun is not going to be in this position in Ontario, where I'm documenting at that time of year last year. The entity is keeping the fake sun rising and setting, a supernatural occurrence. But nonetheless, the identification of the pattern of conduct where the city of Ontario is plainly gang stalking while you're looking at that aerial surveillance over me under that light source that remains here all day long. And this is the engineered light that's covering everything. This is engineered light that's still under the same patio in the evening while the fake sun remains over the same apartment building. All right, and the entity is keeping what is engineered light that you can see as you pay attention to the methods of stalking with engineered light. All right, that's multiple shadows. That has nothing to do with sunlight. And you're looking at the entity gang stalking with Unit 56. She crossed path with the demon driving the Jeep. Units 41 crossed path by pacing back and forth from their apartment to the dumpster. They're doing so under an idle light source. This is how an apartment complex uses what it has at its disposal to cross path in this engineered light. And that's what they're doing by gang stalking in the sky space directly over the top of my head and gang stalking as an entire apartment complex. This is what the city of Ontario is doing, but I'm going to prosecute Woodside Senior Apartments. The mental health patients that remain at Woodside, they're all losing their housing, and while they're stalking in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, 34 U.S.C. Section 12291, they're engaged in federal stalking, monitoring me on the internet and via communication devices in concert with the government that you see gang stalking that is wasting resources of the city and the state, keeping an American citizen under surveillance, entirely illegitimate, entirely perverted, and also entirely psychotic. The mental health patients are gang stalking while they're in position of government and authority. And they like to use planes and helicopters, gang stalking in the illusion where that targeted individual, the ordinary person lacking any evidence to prove the fact that strangers are stalking them, but they're not strangers. They know exactly who you are when you're surrounded by this specific environment. They know exactly who you are when that specific environment is inside of where you reside. All right, and that's exactly what the evidence shows in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. And the same treatment under federal law that Alvarado Gardens is already receiving, that's what Woodside Senior Apartments is getting. And they did it on video. That's relevant to impunity. Not only are you going to prison, not only are you losing custody of your kids, not only are you going to be removed from the property for stalking under existing federal laws, not only are you going to a mental asylum, but you're going for a prolonged period. That's what's relevant regarding the government that's going to be disbanded, Ontario Police, that's going to be removed from operation, i.e. the Ontario International Airport, national security threats, who are gang stalking. They're gang stalking in order to commit murder, in order to defame,
And the federal government is already aware of it. So pray tell, what is it that you think you're accomplishing now when it is no longer a secret? Now you're able to very vividly see, even under their fake sun, the mental illness of the entity that is gang stalking in California. And it's currently going under the name of Woodside Senior Apartments, AVANATH Capital Management, and I'm going to severely prosecute them. That's what you're going to witness. While they prosecute themselves by placing themselves in this video. It is currently 11:02 a.m. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me at Alvarado Gardens and also at Woodside at the end of the day after 5 p.m. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours later, the fake sun is still here, and you just witnessed them engage in that criminal act in furtherance of committing murder, in furtherance of falsely depicting the character of the one. They gang stalk in plain view, conspicuous stalking, in order to psychologically harm and in order to falsely depict. That, by the way, is not the absolute proper working of logic. It's illogical what these demons do, and it's the product of public corruption. That's how this has been able to occur for so long. But it is absurd, and it is, again, an outright failure of syllogism. It's not even logical. Their gang stalking is going to put them in mental asylums. It is not the evidence of anybody else's mental illness, by the way, which is what they use to ordinarily defame the targeted individual that lacks the evidence to prove that a society is targeting them, which you are able to be aware of in that specific environment. This is P.O.C. license 9CZC059. This is in reference to the household of demons gang stalking by employment and residence at AVANATH. And AVANATH is going to be prosecuted because that's not the only gang stalking employee. They're gang stalking the city of Ontario, like you see in this video, over the property of the sky space of Woodside. They're gang stalking inside of this apartment where AVANATH is profiting from, and gang stalking with its demon-possessed residents, third parties who are gang stalking. It's going to be a comprehensive prosecution of the company, of the government, and of the residents, who are all going to be removed from their housing. And those in units 33 through 64 and employees are going to prison and mental asylums. This is documentation of malice and impunity. It's 11:03 a.m. This is P.O.C.